This is dialogue in one of my favorite movies, മഹേഷിൻ്റെ പ്രതികാരം. ഫോട്ടോഗ്രാഫി പഠിപ്പിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല, പക്ഷേ പഠിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. Which roughly translates as photography cannot be taught, but we can learn photography on our own. The same is true for leadership as well. You don't need a big title or a business degree in order to lead with impact. What you need is practical wisdom, the insight, judgment, and the strength of character that all great leaders have, but then most business schools and corporate workshops don't teach, perhaps. Because, like I said, leadership is not something that can be taught using a syllabus. The book that I'm reviewing today, The Grades of Leadership, gives you a better understanding of leaders and leadership. The author, Jocelyn Davis, takes you on an in-depth tour of the best leadership ideas of the past 25 centuries, featuring classic authors from Plato to Winston Churchill, Shakespeare to Jane Austen, and many more, in a style that is both thought-provoking and entertaining as well. She shows how history's great writers have always been and still are the real leadership gurus. Davis spells out the behaviors that distinguish true leaders from misleaders. Each chapter begins with a synopsis of a great work in literature or movies or plays by the author, and then draws out the key leadership insights, weaving them together with business examples, the best contemporary research, and tools to help put it all into practice. And in the last two chapters, Davis presents a new way to think about leadership levels, framing them in terms of the impact you have rather than the title on your business card. Now, I was asked to talk about three concepts that I like the most in this book. I've always had a thing for psychology. So today, I'm choosing to talk about the portion of this book in which it discusses psychology and the way in which human minds work. This whole section dedicated to psychology is titled as Minds. Interesting, right? The word psychology means study of the soul. During the start of this section, Davis makes the observation that every other best-selling leadership book is in fact a psychology book, which perhaps shouldn't surprise us, because nothing could be more useful for leaders than an understanding of what makes human beings behave and think the way they do. The section has 5 psychology related chapters, namely motivation, personality types, decision making, culture, courage. So today I'll be talking about 3 of these 5 chapters. First, let's get into the chapter named as motivation. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, once said that we are motivated by 2 things, which are 1, the pursuit of pleasure, which is mostly sexual, and 2, the avoidance of pain. This statement reminded me of one of my favorite dialogues from the TV show House Empty. Pain makes us make bad decisions. Fear of pain is also a big motivator. P.F. Skinner, father of behaviorism, said that we act based on expectations of external rewards or non-rewards. If you compare these 2 observations from Skinner and Freud, it is clear that they are proposing nothing but the good old idea of carrot and stick. when they talk about the things that human beings are motivated about. Uh, a Viennese psychiatrist, Viktor Frank, has a very different take on motivation. He was a Nazi concentration camp survivor who lost all his family. His experience in the camp later served as the foundation for his theory of logotherapy, which holds that our primary drive, no matter the circumstances, is to pursue what is meaningful to us. The key to survival was their belief that their life has a purpose and a meaning. So they were willing to preserve their lives at any cost rather than giving up during all that hardship. My personal take from all studying all these theories is that the things that motivates us is actually a combination of all these things. Yes, we live in a very competitive world where everything is about carrot and stick, risk and reward. Yet at the end of the day, we yearn that our life has some meaning, it has some purpose. Every one of us wants to leave a mark for the world to see. The second chapter that I'm going to talk about is titled as Personality Types, which, as the name suggests, discusses different personality types possessed by mankind. This chapter mainly talks about the MBTI test, which can help us determine our personality type. The Myers Briggs Personality Type Indicator is a self report inventory designed to identify a person's personality types, strengths, and preferences. The questionnaire was developed by a mother daughter combo, Isabel Myers, and her daughter Catherine Briggs. Basically, it's a set of questionnaires and we answer them. Based on the answer to the questions on the inventory, people are identified as having one of 16 personality types. The goal of the MBTI is to allow respondents to further explore and understand their own personalities, including their likes, their dislikes, strengths, weaknesses, possible career preferences, and compatibility with other people. The questionnaire itself is made up of 4 different scales. First scale is extroversion or introversion. An extrovert draws enjoyment and energy from outer world, whereas an introvert draws it from their own inner world. Second scale is sensing or intuition. A sensor rely on their 5 senses for understanding things, whereas an intuitive rely on their interpretation and imagination. Third scale is thinking or feeling. The scale focuses on how people make decisions based on the information that they gathered from their sensing or intuition functions. People who prefer thinking place a great emphasis on facts and objective data. They tend to be consistent, logical, and impersonal when weighing a decision. Those who prefer feeling are more likely to consider people and emotions when arriving at conclusions. Fourth scale is judging or perceiving. The final scale involves how people tend to deal with the outside world. Those who lean towards judging prefer structure and firm decisions. People who lean toward perceiving are more open, flexible, and adaptive. These two tendencies interact with the other scales. At the end of this test, you get a 4-letter acronym that categorizes you into one of the 16 MBTI types. By the way, I took this test too, and I was categorized as INFJ. And as per the author's observation, I'm happy to announce that I have the same personality types as Hermione Granger from Harry Potter. Apart from that, the third and final chapter I'm going to discuss today is courage. At the start of this chapter, the author talks about the story of Frankenstein's monster, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. At the end of the story, author makes the observation that Frankenstein should have owned up his mistake in creating the monster, and he should have tried to understand it better. Of course, it's not an easy thing to do. Being accountable takes a great deal of courage. Being courageous is a must have quality for all good leaders. And at the end of this chapter, the author gives us a trick on how to handle a situation when somebody attacks or accuses you. The trick has 5 steps which can be remembered by using the acronym ASSET. So, the 5 steps in ASSET approach are: A for acknowledge their point of view, S for seek to understand more, and another S for solicit their advice on how to move forward, and E for enlist their help with a solution, and finally T, thank them for engaging. So it is the 3 things that I like the most in this book. This book gave me a better understanding of leaders of the last 25 centuries, and of course, it makes me want to be a good leader and motivates me to be a better version of myself. Even though I prefer watching movies to reading a book, I really like this experience of reading. So, I would like to thank Manusa for making this mandatory, and thank you for watching.